Polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt for seals. They use their paws to slap the ice and make a loud sound that disorients the seals. Then they use their sharp claws to catch them. And this act protects polar bears from harmful human activities, such as oil drilling in their habitat. Additionally, many organizations are working to reduce the global demand for coal, oil, and gas, which are the main drivers of climate change. By switching to renewable sources of energy, we can slow down the melting of the polar ice caps and give polar bears the habitat they need to survive. However, as the climate gets warmer, the ice melts earlier in the year, which means that polar bears have less time to hunt. If you want to learn more about what you can do to help polar bears, I encourage you to visit their website. Well, first of all, you can raise awareness about their plight. Talk to your friends and family about the challenges polar bears are facing and encourage them to take action. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious. You can also support organizations that are working to protect polar bears, like 350.org, and you can make changes in your own life to reduce your carbon footprint. Even small changes like recycling, conserving water, and turning off lights when you leave a room can make a big difference. The bears are forced to stay on land longer than they would like, where they can't get enough food. And one of the most heartbreaking groups is the polar bears. Elect officials who support policies that protect the environment and hold those in power accountable. Remember, we're all in this together. It'll take a collective effort to turn things around, but it is possible. They have to swim longer distances between ice flows, and many of them drown while trying to do so. As you can imagine, all of this is taking a toll on the polar bear population. Many of them are starving to death or being drowned. As you may already know, polar bears live in the Arctic region, and they depend on sea ice to survive. They use the ice as a platform to hunt for their favorite food, which is the fat under the skin of seals. So polar bears are not only losing their habitat, but they're also losing their food source. According to the World Wildlife Fund, polar bears have declined by 40% over the last 3 decades. That's a staggering statistic. This means that out of every 5 polar bears that existed 30 years ago, only 3 remain today. The problem is that as the climate gets warmer, the ice melts earlier in the year and it freezes later in the year. This means that polar bears have less time to hunt for food. As a result, they're not getting the calories they need, and many of them are starving to death. To make things worse, the warming climate is causing the seal populations to decline as well. Let's take a closer look at what's happening in more detail. In addition, the melting ice makes it harder for polar bears to travel. But there's hope for these majestic creatures yet. In 2008, polar bears were listed as a threatened species under the U.S. Endangered Species Act 1. Our organization that's doing great work is 350.org. They've organized thousands of grassroots campaigns to divest from fossil fuels and invest in renewable energy. So what can you do to help save the polar bears? It's also important to vote and make your voice heard. The polar bears are facing an uncertain future, but with our help, they can continue to roam the icy plains of the Arctic for generations to come.